Hello everyone, I'm Essen, and in this video I will be talking about the project that we conducted for the course Engineering Design and Innovation for offered in term Spring 2021 at Habib University. For this project, we had to design a solution to some engineering oriented problem from the themes that were given to us. The themes range from water management problems to electricity management to road safety and regulation, to a couple of others such as online education due to the COVID, and a couple of other themes were there. So we had to identify, we had to first select a theme, and then we had to identify some problem within those theme, and devise a solution. So the project was spread throughout the semester and was oriented in such a way that the solution that we come up with towards the end is a well-rounded solution. And there were certain milestone as well within this whole orientation that had to be achieved, and that had to be fulfilled in order to complete the solution in its essence. Right. So I will be talking about the solution, or the problem and the solution that we chose for this project, and what were the phases that we went to, and um, what are the milestones that were related to this project, and how did we design our solution, and what were the consideration that we took in our solution, and so on. Right. So I will start off with the very first phase, which was to identify the problem within the theme that we've selected. So my group selected the theme road safety and regulation, in which we had to first look at multiple stakeholders ranging from pedestrians to traffic police, and bike riders, and cyclists, and car drivers, and road regulation authorities as well. We conducted our initial interviews, and we identified what are the problems that they face, as far as road safety regulation is concerned, regarding law and order, regarding the some common problems, for example, the road infrastructure, or simple following of rules, and or traffic police conducting their duty or not, and ranging from these covering many parameters. Right. So we interviewed a couple of stakeholders. We interviewed a couple of drivers as well, and other stakeholders. I will briefly talk about these stakeholders towards at later stage in this video. But for now, let me just brief you about the problem that we decided to focus on to. Right. So based on the interviews that we conducted, we identified that one of the problem that is on the rise due to the COVID is of the delivery riders being involved in some sort of accidents. We identified that the accidents and mostly occur among these delivery riders, and the frequency have further increased because of the online surge, the surge in the online market and online shopping, and buying and selling of goods and services, which utilizes these delivery riders. Um, right. So we looked at different statistics and identified that due to the COVID, that is one of the major problems that we should be looking into, and should try to come up with some solution. So starting off, the first and foremost important thing that we had to come up with was a need statement for a project, which were to act as a ground upon which the whole structure of our solution would be based upon. So it has to be as refined, as precise, and as clear as possible, such that the audience that them have read this need statement have a very clear understanding and idea of what is it that we intended to do, and what is it that we did. Right. So it has to include, the need statement has to include the stakeholder, the primary stakeholder that for which the solution is being designed, and what is the solution that is being designed, and what is the problem due to which that solution is being designed. So if you read the need statement on the screen, you can clearly see there are three parameters which are clearly convey this information of what the problem is, which is the road traffic accident, who the audience or the stakeholder is for which the solution is being designed, which are the delivery riders or bike riders in this case, and what is the parameters upon which we will be measuring the efficiency of our solution, which will be apparently the number of accidents and the time spent on the phone. Since delivery riders usually have to communicate with their clients and customers, they have to make regular use of their cell phones while commuting on the bike, which is extremely a dangerous position for the delivery riders to be commuting in, given they have to stay focused on the road, as well as in a way perform multitasking by communicating with their clients and using their phone. And so we had to look at this problem from multiple perspective as to what is the need why with which the delivery riders have to use their phone, and how we can sort of merge it into this entity that can help them commute efficiently, as well as they're not being distracted away by their cell phones. Right. So primarily the stakeholders that we identify were delivery riders, but we realized towards the end that there's the solution that we had came up with can also be applicable to normal riders as well. So it made more sense to redefine our need statement and and change the stakeholder from delivery riders to simple bike riders. Right. So once we have identified the need statement, the next step is to set the background for the user, to help the audience understand what with the need statement in the scenario. The next step is to set the background so that the audience will understand what is the exact ground upon which we are looking at the problem, or background can basically also be can also play the role of connecting the audience to the problem, or to help them understand their problem at more personal scale, because it might connect some sort of story that from their personal life, or some observation that that each of us at some point have explored. So in the background we had to put some sort of a perspective, which we did so by setting in a small story, or a small piece of writing to regarding an accident of some individual, due to the communicating while driving. And so this background help the audience connect more to the need statement, and help them identify how it is help them identify some sort of observation that they had within their personal life experiences. Right. And once we had the background set, the next step was to set more theoretical ground, based on facts and figures and data that we have identified and that we have collected regarding in the problem, to signify the problem. So this section covers the statistics that we collected from different authentic sources to convey the significance of this problem of road accidents, to the audience. Right. So I won't be covering the details of these paragraphs within this video. They can be found within the document that I will be attaching with this video. So if you want to go through them, feel free to do so. Right. So once we had the significance, the next step was the stakeholder assessment, which I was talking about earlier. Within the stakeholder, we had to identify who are the primary subjects, around which the problem is being identified, and around which the solution would be constructed. Right. So we identified different stakeholders, for example, old age bikers, student office bikers, and courier and logistics bikers, which were the primary stakeholder, but the solution was more of a general in terms of it can be used by any bike rider. So we had to take in account all the stakeholders which would use our solution regarding the road safety. So once we had identified the stakeholders, so the next step was to look at what role do they play in these problems, or how our solution would be affecting them, and what are the primary benefits that our solution would contain for these stakeholders. I just want to clear that at this point, when we're doing the stakeholder assessment, and we're interviewing different subjects of the road safety team, we did not had any solution constructed initially, but what we had in mind were the domains that our solution would be targeting. For example, if we were considering some sort of solution to help save the delivery riders, we want to target the domains for example, how their distraction would be, how they can communicate distraction within a distraction free communicate, how they can communicate with their cell phones in terms of call communication, or looking at a map in more efficient way, without causing them any destruction. So that's the solution at this point was still very vague and very abstract. Nothing concrete was created or constructed regarding the solution. So with this abstract idea in mind, we had to identify how it will be primarily benefiting the stakeholders involved, and what would be the net impact that our solution would have, whether positive or negative to the stakeholders. So this table basically summarizes that stakeholder assessment. Again, it can be found within the link that I'm attaching below for the further details. Right. So next step was to map was the feature mapping of the stakeholder. So we the solution that we still had not designed had to include some sort of parameters, or had to take care of some parameters. For example, it should have wireless communication, whatever the solution may be. It should have some sort of camera control. It should be app connected. It should have the capability to connect using an app, or it should have a it should be cost efficient. It should have identified for a solution. The next step was to map them with the stakeholder, because not all features would be preferred by all the stakeholders, right? So some features might be interesting to some stakeholder, while not interesting, or while not benefiting at all to other stakeholder. So the diagram that you are seeing on the screen help us summarizes the feature mappings to identify which of the feature is the most prominent one, and which of the feature must be included within the solution. Right. Once we had the feature mapping flowchart with us, with the next step was the simple mapping using the table. This is basically a summary of the same feature mapping that we saw above, but it conveys great information as to which features of the proposed solution should be incorporated within the final prototype. Right. So this table conveys that information, and with that, the next step was to prioritizing the features. So the couple of solutions were suggested for the final prototype, but we had to prioritize to see which solutions or which aspects of the solution have to be finally incorporated, because not all the aspects have of the solution of the proposed solution can be implemented altogether, because there might be cross compatibility issues. One aspect of the solution might not go with the other, so we had to identify which we had to prioritize the features as to the one which are incorporable within the which can be incorporated within the defined design solution. Right. So once we had that in mind, the next step was to come up with a solution. The solution that we came up with initially, the solution that we came up with was a design of a helmet, which would be capable of replicating the behavior and the functioning of a cell phone. For example, it can have call communication incorporated within it, so the user won't have to use a cell phone, but rather the call communication would be conducted with their helmet itself. And similarly, it will include camera control to for the user to record the journey and to improve their driving skills. And apart from the camera control, it would have navigation indicators as well, where the user would be directed on the road without having to look at the maps on their screen, and can navigate through different streets without being distracted by a phone, and just by wearing the helmet. So in doing so, we first had to identify in this proposed solution was we first have to identify what are the existing solutions that exist, and then come up with so a couple of solutions that we I existing solutions that we identified include GoPro SD Helmet Hero. It is basically a mountable camera that can be put onto the helmet, but it is not it is an external tool, and it's not incorporated or integrated within the helmet. Right. So it had its own strengths and weaknesses, which are discussed within this document. Apart from that, we also had identified that for camera control solution, or for camera control outboard camera control domain, there is also a dashboard camera available, which can be mounted on a bike, but it do have different weaknesses and advantages in terms of theft, in terms of weather control, and how it might affect the camera that is mounted on the as a dashboard. As far as call communication domain goes, we identified one of the existing solution as Heli Helmet, which is capable of which includes integrated circuit, which have microphone, indicator, as well as GPS tracking, but it does not have a camera. So it cannot be. So it has to be modified in some manner to achieve the solution that we desired from this project. And apart from Heli helmet, the other one was Cena Momentum INC Pro, which is again another helmet which offers the same features, but it is far more expensive and is primarily not available here in Pakistan. So we had to discard that solution as well. As for navigational domain, we identified a couple of devices, navigational devices which can be mounted on the dashboard, on the bike or the cycle, and which provides navigational direction. But it is device we also had to spend a significant amount of cost, as it is an expensive one. It also makes does not use the cell phone directly, which we were planning to do. Right. So once we had these existing solutions identified, the next step was to identify how our solution should be different than these existing solutions, for which we had to perform storyboarding and concept mapping, for which we identified what are the requirements that we want from the navigational and direction domain of our solution. Similarly, what are the requirements that we want from the camera control, what purpose the camera would serve in our solution, and what would be the purpose that the call communication aspect of our solution would be serving. And then we will have to proceed with the identified requirements, right? And in order to validate our proposed design, we had to perform a rapid prototyping task, which we simply used a camera, and we uh, simply inserted a earphone piece into it, and for the navigational direction, we simply printed a piece of directions on a piece of paper and just mounted it on the screen as to identify what are the lacking and what are the missing aspects of our solution, what can be improved and what cannot be improved. Right. So that was a rapid prototyping. That's why this solution that you're seeing on the screen looks horrible as hell. But the good thing is that we did not this was not the final solution, and towards the end, in fact, the helmet was not the solution that we finalized with, but rather it was a dashboard design integrated with the camera, which will serve as the final solution for this project. Right. So as far as the need specification and stakeholder assessment goes, this document pretty much summarizes that. So I will be stopping here now, and then in the next video, I will be talking about the concept, the post. In the next video, I'll be talking about the posters that we designed, and what was the final solution that we came up with, and how did we validated that solution, and what are the room for improvements and potential changes that can be done in that solution to make it more refined. Right. So bye, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.